At Visionary, we're a company that's been doing video over IP for almost 25 years now. We were founded in 1995, based in Southern California. So Santa Barbara is home. I'm actually the one guy at Visionary who's on the other coast outside of California. I'm in New Jersey. So we kind of run the gamut of the entire US by having me on the East Coast and everybody else in California. We are a very heavily engineering-oriented company. We don't do a lot of marketing and advertising. We highly focus on what we do best, which is audio and video over IP. In fact, our products were selected by NASA years ago to be deployed on the International Space Station. And it's kind of an important story to tell because it talks about the reliability and stability of everything we make. These products have been out in outer space for 8 years now with great reliability. And really what it talks about is our design philosophy of all of our products, not just the encoders and decoders that we're going to be talking about today. So just sort of as background, it wasn't very long ago, but projects were designed with matrix switchers. You had some number of inputs, some number of outputs. In the early days of matrix switchers, they're really, you bought what you needed. It was an 8x8 or a 16x16. Years go by and there's some expandability involved with a matrix, but really it was, you had some number of inputs and some number of outputs. You were very much fixed to how far a signal could travel or how many inputs and outputs you were allowed with that kind of matrix you might have chosen. And well, it's probably about 10 years ago that the world has really discovered audio and video over IP as a replacement for the matrix switch. And by this, we now have much greater capability for expanding a system really to infinite levels. You literally can have as many sources and as many displays on a network and driving those signals literally as far as you want to go. So building wide and campus wide signal deployment is really no problem for us. The great thing about it is anything can go anywhere. Any signals can be routed to any part of a facility or a campus. And that brings with it all kinds of new great capabilities and abilities for your clients. What it means is when COVID started happening, we had a lot of clients who had existing video over IP solutions on campus, but they realized they had to play by new rules, right? Students had to be distanced. One great example was the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, their orchestra. Actually came to us and said, we've got to practice together. We've got to play together. And what we ended up doing was we deployed a variety of encoders and decoders throughout their performing spaces and practice suites. And certain members of the band would go to certain separate rooms. And in every room, there would be an encoder and a decoder. The encoder would have a camera attached to it and a microphone. The decoder would be attached to a display in that practice room. And the entire orchestra was playing together, practicing together in real time, in full fidelity, with no measurable latency on the audio and video path. So what it meant was by looking at the display in the room and by playing their instrument, they were virtually playing together at exactly the same pace and the same rate and the same cadence that they would have played together if they were live in the same room. These types of examples, existed really in every type of vertical where our products are deployed. Education is a great example, but healthcare and hospitality and gaming all took great advantage of audio and video over IP. And we learned a lot of lessons through the whole COVID time. Really what separates our endpoints from a lot of our competitors, first and foremost, that there's a reasonable price point associated with it. We are very cost effective, but we're also very power friendly, which means that our boxes run cool to the touch, which means much greater efficiency in an equipment rack, much less space required, and much less power that we require. So by drawing less power, it means we don't need a fan. Our boxes run cool to the touch. So we have encoders and decoders in a variety of form factors, variety of connector types. And the important thing is that everything works with everything. So I'm not going to call out each individual model. I think that might be a good thing to do one-on-one on a separate call if you so desire. But we have a variety of encoders and decoders. They all work together, so you can mix and match them. I know on each of these slides, I'm showing one particular encoder and one particular decoder, but there's no reason why you can't use any of these with any of the other products. We operate at extremely low latency. The low power consumption that we talked about means that we're able to build these products into other form factors. So one of our big advantages is that we have a wall plate encoder that fits easily into a 2-gang electrical box or a 4-square box. There's no fans inside this thing. It runs cool to the touch. And that, again, makes us more reliable, more stable than products that don't run cool to the touch. All of the products in this product category, we all run on standard PoE. So they're about 7 watts of power that we typically consume. So compared to some of the other products in the marketplace that are requiring 35, 45, 50 watts of power, there's a considerable power savings, and that can be extended out. You know, we can calculate that out in terms of how much money the customer is going to save based on power consumption alone. We did a large casino project a couple of years ago in Las Vegas. This was the Resorts World Casino. They deployed almost 2,500 of our endpoints throughout all kinds of different venues, the performing arts spaces, the casino floor, even the hotel guest rooms. There were encoders and decoders literally everywhere in this facility. We calculated for them that they were going to save $50,000 a year on power alone, $50,000 when compared to some of the other products they were considering. And one of the big advantages that they saw was this wall plate encoder. We actually developed a variant specifically for that project. The product we developed had Bluetooth capabilities in addition to the typical HDMI video input on the encoder. So a guest could walk into their hotel guest room. They could listen to music off of their phone through the audio system in their guest room simply by pushing the pair button on their phone and joining it up to the audio system in their suite. It was a nice little ad, made the system a whole lot more easy to deploy, easy to commission. They didn't have to add extra Bluetooth devices throughout the facility. Couple other things. Obviously, it's a very shallow device, fits into that 2-gang box we talked about. Easy to run the Ethernet cable into any side of the box without any kind of kinking or radiusing issue. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, obviously part of the name of this session was our ability to do very simple, easy to deploy BYOD spaces. So for that, what we're doing is an encoder and a decoder at a podium or a lectern. Simply through a USB docking station allows a client to walk in to a presentation room with their own laptop, wanting to join whatever type of video meeting they're hoping to host. And it's simply a USB-C connection into their laptop. And they're going to take advantage of all of the audio signals and video signals available to the room simply by connecting this one wire. We believe that it's probably a better solution to have a wired connection to the host's laptop because this guarantees them better internet access than trying to do a Zoom call or a Teams call via Wi-Fi. In larger presentation spaces, what we've discovered is if large auditorium, you've got all the attendees in the room, they're all sharing that Wi-Fi bandwidth with the presenter. So the Zoom conference or Teams or whatever can suffer lack of bandwidth because they're all trying to share the same connection to the internet. So by leveraging the docking station and the single USB-C connection to the host laptop, it means that they can have a managed connection to the internet. They can be guaranteed the bandwidth they need to have a great Zoom call, no matter what the attendees in the audience are doing on their personal devices. So I've got a lot of applications we can talk about. I'd rather save that sort of towards the end and work through. I saw that there were some questions coming in when I first got started. So why don't we talk about those questions? And then if we've got time left over, we can talk about some other applications.
Yes, fantastic. We do have a couple questions. Our first question is, what is the current lead time on encoders and decoders?
I get the feeling you're asking that to everybody. So we're actually in really good shape. What we do is to offer these products at an attractive price point. We actually work with our assembly line that is based in Taiwan. So Taiwan makes us TAA compliant. There are no Chinese chips or pieces and parts inside our units. We are all based in Taiwan, with final assembly happening in our Santa Barbara location. That offers up a few distinct advantages. First off, our lead times are extremely short, most of the time. Right now, because we've had a lot of large orders come in very recently, right now we are looking for most orders. We are fulfilling them in about 12 weeks, not 12 months, 12 weeks, not too terrible. We'd like to optimize that. We would like to shorten that back to what it was. But right now we are estimating 12 weeks. That being said, we do urge you to let us know if we're up against a critical timeline. If there is a critical timeline, a deadline that we have to hit, we typically can do so by rearranging some priorities. So if you've got something that you need faster than 12 weeks, just let us know when you're placing the order, and we'll let you know 99 times out of 100, we can meet whatever deadlines you throw our way.
Thank you so much, Louis. Are the decoders multicast or unicast?
Good question. So we do support unicast. Pretty much everything we do is multicast. Multicast allows us to be extremely efficient with our bandwidth utilization of the network. But we can put the units into unicast mode if we need to, let's say, traverse a firewall. If we need to go from one building to another, we can tell a decoder to be tuned to a specific encoder, grab that stream across a public network run.
Okay, can you share what platforms VSI works on? QSys, MVX, etc.
Oh, sure. So we are completely open in terms of how you might control our devices or interact with our devices. In fact, I don't recommend it, but you could actually operate our devices without any third-party control. We have a very simple user interface that's really intended for the guy who's doing the commissioning in the field, or gal, the engineer or programmer who might be testing the system. We've got a very simple little application that we call vLite. vLite is a Java-based application that allows a web browser to discover all of our endpoints and then route any signal from an encoder to a decoder. We don't recommend it for an end user because there's not a lot of customization that you can do to really fine tune it. But if you want to control us from Crestron or Extron or AMX or now Biamp or QSys, all of these platforms very easily control us. And I'll actually, since I'm still sharing my screen, I'll show you. This is what our QSys plugins look like. They are really simple and really intuitive. You don't have to be much of a programmer to simply discover our endpoints in QSys and even route signals. So by clicking on a source and clicking on a destination, I'll see I'll see what my encoders and decoders are doing, and I'm able to route signals in real time. So that's super cool and super handy. As I said, I don't want to take any business away from the programmers, but if you're doing a simple deployment, a lot of the guys who are familiar with QSys have a real easy time working with our plugins.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Those are all of our questions. If you'd like to continue.
Fantastic. Oh, I just pressed the stop share button. So let me reshare. I did want to bring up a couple of wrong one. That one, right? Yeah. Couple of application slides. One, having a share problem here. Let me switch back to PowerPoint. I apologize. There we go. PowerPoint. So I'm hoping now you're seeing my PowerPoint screen.
No, we are seeing your email.
Oh, that is unfortunate. I did say it was working before. That
Happens to the best of us.
and I know it's doing it.
There we
again.
go. You just had
Oh,
it back.
all right. Let's try again. Yes, it's even highlighting the screen.
Fantastic. Take it away.
So that is PowerPoint, right? Usually it puts the colored bar around the screen. You are seeing PowerPoint now?
We are seeing your presentation.
Oh, good. Fantastic. I didn't really go into the specific connectors on the encoders and decoders, but it is worth mentioning we've got some solutions for smaller classrooms and smaller rooms because a lot of our devices have multiple connectivity options. So some of our encoders and decoders have multiple HDMI plus USB-C inputs and outputs on them, which means that one encoder can go a long way. In this case, one encoder being used in a simple classroom, or a couple of encoders and a couple of decoders in a more complicated BYOD and divisible classroom space. So basically what it comes down to is greater bang for the buck, ability to kind of use fewer pieces in a larger deployment. I did want to talk about briefly a couple of different types of spaces where we have deployed encoders and decoders. One example is in Chicago, we did the Fellows Brands offices where, again, kind of a benefit as we entered into the age of COVID, the ability to connect rooms together for overflow, the ability to integrate with Skype and other conference applications between rooms as well as outside of the complex to clients who are outside. We do a lot of projects in hospitality, restaurants, gaming, and one example of this was Margaritaville in Georgia, where the client wanted to integrate with Q-SYS, have a very easy platform for routing audio and video around the entire facility. And by us having these great plugins that I showed you very briefly earlier, really gave great interoperation between the Q-SYS side of things and Visionary, and also made for a very easy deployment. And one of the added benefits is with a system like this becomes extremely scalable. If they want to roll a display in, any Ethernet connection anywhere around the facility is going to allow them to simply drop another decoder, drop a display anywhere around with simply a connection to the Ethernet. As I said, we've done a variety of large-scale deployments around the world, but certainly the Resorts World Casino that I talked about earlier is a great example of large deployment using Visionary endpoints. We do a variety of applications in house of worship and education and healthcare. And good to know, a lot of these are available on our website. I'm also happy to join you one-on-one and talk about specific applications, specific use cases, and how it might benefit your client for anything they might be working on.
I do have a question here for you.
Sure.
You're ready for it. What is your warranty and advanced replacement program?
So advanced replacement program is part of our warranty. It doesn't ever expire, the advanced replacement part of it. The warranty is extendable to however far you want to go, but out of the box, it is a 2-year warranty. We can certainly talk about that as you are designing a project. If you need to extend that warranty, we can bundle that together in the proposal and work out a deal. But as I said, it is a 2-year warranty. We do find these products are extremely reliable and stable. Typically, once you get them up and running, once you get them on the job site, we see very few failures. I will say, at the time that we launched the wall plate encoder, that was really the only time that we had a client that were frequently physically connecting an HDMI cable and disconnecting an HDMI cable from one of our products. Prior to the wall plate encoder, the boxes lived in the rack or a podium or whatever, and all of the connectivity was happening kind of far away from the devices, or it was a one-time connection and it was done. We discovered with the wall plate encoder during testing that we needed to use a more ruggedized HDMI connector, and we were able to locate one. We actually went back in and upgraded our other products, our flange mount products, to have that updated HDMI connector on it. And we realized that we have solved a problem before it really became a problem that any customers identified. So we do a lot of testing internally, as I talked about earlier, for thermal concerns, but also to make sure our products are properly ruggedized. And so we have extremely small number of RMAs, failed units. Literally in a year, I can count them on one hand, the number of products that have to be returned because of some type of defect or malfunction. Typically, it's only based on client abuse, if you will, or hard environments that they might be installed in. So long answer to a short question. It's a 2-year warranty out of the box. It can be extended to whatever length you might need for a particular client.
Excellent, Louis. Thank you so much. Can you describe one of the most interesting integrations that VSI has ever been a part of?
It's got to be over at Resorts World. The interesting thing about Resorts World, and I bring it up a lot, 2,500 endpoints on a single network is rather unique. In fact, we were pouring through every other case study we found from other manufacturers, and literally around the globe, we have not found a project as large as Resorts World for video endpoints on a single data network. So a little bit that makes that project interesting is that there were 3 different consultants on the project. There were 4 different integrators on the project. There were 3 different control systems. There was QSys controlling our products. There was Crestron, and there was Control4. And it was literally one data network where all of these devices lived. So I say, if you had the keys to the kingdom, right? If you were able to route signals, you literally could take somebody's video signal that they had plugged into in their guest room, and you could put it on the digital signage display on the side of the building at Resorts World. You could route it to every display in the casino, every display in every restaurant. Literally everywhere on property, there were visionary encoders and decoders. And literally, if you were looking at a video signal of any kind, you were looking at visionary delivering those video signals throughout the entire property. Really, it's a very powerful use case. But more than anything else, it demonstrates the power of video over IP. You think about, if you flash back to more than 10 years ago, you say to yourself, well, if we were doing this with a matrix, how would we possibly deliver video signals and audio signals to that many destinations? How would we possibly figure out a way to have that many inputs available to route signals to that many displays? And then how would we cover that much distance? How many signal amplifiers, how many buffers and line drivers would we need to get the signal from way over here to about a mile away to where some of the other displays and other signals might be transporting to? And you think about it long enough and you realize that these types of applications are everywhere around us, from corporate applications to healthcare, the massive healthcare properties that are going up, and all of their video and audio needs. Visionary's got a solution for every single one of them, and that's really a large part of the story that we tell.